Hello everyone, my name is Faris, and in this presentation I will be analyzing the article Self-Reliance by Ralph Waldo Emerson through a rhetorical lens. In this presentation, I analyze how authors use argument and appeals to persuade the readers with the text examples. So through this rhetorical analysis, I will also show how it adapts to an audience. And I will also share a primary source that helps to understand the author's work. Let's start with the introduction. Ralph Waldo Emerson was a famous American essay writer, philosopher, poet, and speaker, and played a central role in the Transcendentalist movement of the 19th century. He was best renowned for his work on independence, self-reliance, and the spiritual link between humans and nature. The article Self-Reliance by Emerson advocates honesty, independence, and spirituality. The article is based on transcendentalist ideas about self-divinity and more self-expression. Transcendentalist ideas mean to highlight the individual, inner truth, and spiritual connection to nature. And transcendentalists like Emerson believe that people should follow their instincts and live honestly, not adapt to society. He further said, society is a joint stock company in which the members agree for the better sharing of his bread to each shareholder, to surrender the liberty and culture of the eater. In this statement, Emerson compares society to joint stock company that sacrifices freedom for comfort, and he encouraged people to go against what most people think, accept differences, and follow their unique calling. He promotes self-reliance as a spiritual and political courage with the use of argument, appeals, and arrangement and aesthetics. So let's move to the next slide. In Self-Reliance, Emerson used a logical argument to persuade. He advised everyone to trust their inner voice because it is the only way to find truth and direction. He begins by arguing to believe your own thought, to believe that what is true for your in your private heart and true for all men. That is genius. So in this argument is the start of a deeper discussion by which of the author persuade audience they prioritize their personal belief over social norms. Furthermore, I believe he linked personal intelligence with a self-trust and shows that real intelligence is when a person trusts their thought and it is more important to survive and so prioritize. So let's move to the next slide. So examples, hypotheticals, and more reasoning support his argument. All these components show that inner truth or trusting one helps to guide our action more than public opinion or institution tradition. He said, on my saying, what have I to do with the sacredness of tradition if I live wholly from within? My friend suggested, but these impulses may be from below, not from above. I replied, they do not seem to me to be such. But if I am the dove's child, I will live then from the devil. Not law can be sacred to me, but that of my nature. I believe this example supports his argument that people should be honest even if others misinterpret. This argument shows that he believes honesty comes from within, not from trying to be liked by others. So now let's move to the next slide. Emerson used pathos to encourage people to find their freedom, honor, and truth. His emotional appeal frees people from social pressure, anger, and restriction. He states, "It is easy in the world to live after the world opinion. It is easy in the soul to live after our own. But the great man is he who in the midst of the crowd keep with the perfect sweetness the independence of solitude." This contrast between external conformity and inner peace, and making an emotional appeal to persuade the reader to struggle to be honest in a judgmental setting. Emerson makes people feel hopeful by saying that being in truth great means keeping your inner self under social pressure. As he said, for nonconformity, the world whips you with its displeasure. This statement shows the audience's fear of rejection, but also their desire to be brave in the face of it. So let's move to the next slide. In addition to emotional appeals, Emerson used ethical appeal to persuade audience about what is right and wrong. He said, "A man is to carry himself in the presence of all opposition, as if everything were titular and ephemeral but he." Emerson portrays himself as a good person who acts honorably in public, even when others disagree. As a child, he fought against religious pressure by asking. He resisted religious pressure as a child by questioning. I remember an answer which, when quite young, I was prompted to make to a valued advisor, who was a want import me with the dear old doctrines of the church. On my saying, "What have I to do with the sacredness of tradition if I live wholly from within?" He rejects inherited beliefs to establish himself as a self-directed thinker who follows his inner self voice. These appeals make the reader more likely to believe him, making his call to trust oneself logical, moral, and emotional. So let's move to the next slide. Self-Reliance by Emerson was written for Americans in the 1800s who were struggling with the identity, authority, and independence in a rapidly modernizing but religious cultures. This strategy aligns with the Herrick's explanation that rhetorical discourse then forges links between the writer's view and those of an audience. On page 9. Emerson adapted his writing for audiences for independence, but not following the crowd by talking about Christian virtue, moral courage, and human duty. Emerson questioned Puritan morals, educational uniformity, and social obedience to persuade audiences that they should trust themselves intellectually and spiritually. As he said, "A man is to carry himself in the presence of all opposition, as if everything were titular and ephemeral but he." I am ashamed to think how easily we capitulate to badges and names, to large societies and diet institutions. Persuade those who feel burdened by authority or public opinion. So let's move to the next slide. This photo of Ralph Waldo Emerson seated, holding a papers and surrounded by writing tools, the core values expressed in the Self-Reliance essay. So let's move to the next slide. Emerson wants the audience to view the man's composed attitude, formal attire, and serious attitude as a signs of his intellect and convictions, and his photo reflected his calmness. As Herrick explains, one of the major social functions of rhetoric is that assist advocacy by bringing private ideas to the public attention and providing them a voice. Through its rejection of conformity and institutional orthodoxy, Emerson writings shifting moral authority to individuals. Emerson thought that authorship and independent thought are important for fame, and a workspace with the ink, paper, and pen makes these things clear. As a disciplined thinker, Emerson rejected conformity and outward acceptance. This image shows a man who lives by his simple belief. So let's move to the next slide. I believe in the political climate of today, Emerson's self-reliance call for a personal conviction over mindless obedience is high relevant. Emerson said, "What I must do is all that concerns me, not what people think," which indicate how moral brave it is to pursue your views despite this argument. In today's society, division, media bias, and party loyalty make people think as a group rather than individually. Today, writings encourage political account above critical analysis. As Emerson stated, it was wrong to give up personal understanding for society standards. So thank you for listening to my presentation, and last slide for the reference.